requesting each and everybody to kindly be on mute. As soon as your turn comes, then you can unmute yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a border tourism webinar series highlighting the potential of tourism in border districts of India. And this series is there, I think, for almost a year. And today we are going to have a focus state, Assam. And this entire film, which we have recently shown it to you, is just to apprise you what is our organization all about, those who are new. And for the last 116 years, we are working in different sectors, and tourism is one of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll not take much time. I'll just share it with you, the program details of today, which will is going to start in next few minutes, and it will end till 5 p.m. So we will have first the welcome address by Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, PHDCCI. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share it with you. He has served for more than 30 years with Indian Army, and took his VRS, and he is actually Colonel Saurabh Sanyal, retired, now working as Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and dynamic person. Then we will have a theme address by Mr. Pawan Sagar Jain. He is the Chairman of Tourism and Hospitality Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Post that, we will have a PhD CCI presentation on Assam, which will be done by my dear colleague Sulagna Ghosh, who is the Secretary for this Tourism and Hospitality Committee. And then we will have the address by Mr. Ayush Garg, is from Indian Administrative Service, Deputy Commissioner, Baksa District, Government of Assam. So he'll basically going to share it with us that about that district particularly, which is a border district. Then we will have a presentation on Incredible India, which will be done by my colleague Sanchit Prabhakar, who is responsible in the hospitality sector of Tourism and Hospitality Committee. We will have the address by Ms. Rupinder Brar. She is the Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Post that, we will have address by Ms. Moitri Das, Deputy Director Tourism, Government of Assam. Post that, we will have Mr. Saurabh Rishi, Joint Advisor, Aspirational Districts Program, Niti Aayog, with whom the support and guidance Niti Aayog's, we would be able to have number of important webinars in the area of border tourism. Then we will have address by Mr. Suresh Kumar, Commandant, Guwahati Frontier Border Security Force. We are very honored, sir, that we have Mr. Suresh Kumar, Commandant, Guwahati Frontier Border Security Force. He will be speaking on his experience and the guidance which he feels what should be there, the infrastructure as far as the border districts are concerned. Then we will have an address by Mr. Debajit Kumar Barua, President, Tour Operator Association of Assam, which is called TOAA. And then we'll have address of Mr. Vishwanath Goenka, Advisor, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Assam, that is HRAA. And last but not the least, my dear co-chair, Mr. Rajan Sehgal, he's the co-chair of Tourism and Hospitality Committee, which he will also be responsible for giving the concluding remarks for this border tourism webinar series. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going to have an interface for next, I would say, 2 hours exactly on this border tourism webinar series, and will not take much time. Let me first invite Colonel Saurabh Sanyal, retired and now the Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to kindly give his welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'm really honored to extend a very warm welcome to our esteemed speakers, Ms. Rupinder Brar, Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, Mr. Ayush Garg, the Deputy Commissioner, Bakas District, Government of Assam, Ms. Moitri Das, Deputy Director, Tourism, Government of Assam, Mr. Saurabh Rishi, Joint Advisor, Aspirational Districts Program, Niti Aayog, Commandant, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Guwahati Frontier Border Security Force, Mr. Debjit Kumar Bora, the President of the Tour Operators Association of Assam, Mr. Vishwanath Goenka ji, Advisor, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Assam, Shri Pawan S. Jain, Chair, Tourism and Hospitality Committee, PhD Chamber, Mr. Rajan Sehgal, our dynamic co-chair, Tourism and Hospitality Committee, PhD Chamber, and an avid golfer, Dr. Yogesh Srivastava, Assistant Secretary General, PhD Chamber, Ms. Sulagna Ghosh, and the team under Ms. Sulagna and Dr. Yogesh. It's very heartening to see all the experts from the domain coming in, and we look forward to hear their expert views and learn from their experience. I'll begin with a brief introduction of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. As you are all aware, PhD Chamber was established in 1805 as a chamber for trade and industry. It is the voice of trade and industry today. It has got in its fold more than 150 direct and indirect members, and we reach out to more than 5 lakh business entities interacting with each other. And we also have more than 150 global MOUs with our like-minded chambers overseas. PhD works as a partner in progress, industry and government at the grassroots level with strong national and international linkages for progress, harmony, and integrated development. Tourism is considered as one of the most prominent and convenient industry for the development of remote, peripheral, and other rural border landscapes. The border areas of all the states and union territories are very rich in natural and man-made tourism potentials. Large areas of our country are untapped because of many restrictions imposed by the security and paramilitary forces. However, there are several virgin landscapes with huge architectural sites and monuments, rivers, rich local cultures, and many other resources which are still untapped. Like in our friendly foreign countries, large number of people go and visit many areas in the border, and they witness live deployment of troops across both the borders, across both the countries. They go through various archaeological sites of coal mines, etc. In our country also, in various states, namely Punjab, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and in the northeastern region, we have large number of border areas which are open to tourists, and where especially the Nathula Pass, etc., from where the borders are very clearly visible with our neighboring countries. And it's a great site, and also in the forward areas, and also for the hinterland. It is also a great opportunity for the tourists to come there and see the terrain, see the tribal area, see the local lingo, learn about the local languages and the people who live there. It's a great opportunity to know about your country and your countrymen. So I'm hopeful that in today's webinar, we'll be able to come up with a strategic framework to develop border tourism in Assam. I'm sure all the expert speakers will provide a fillip to it, and we will be collating and compiling all the recommendations which are made by all the expert speakers, and then we will extend it to the central government and to the state government of Assam for developing further. With this note, I would like to extend my warm greetings to all those who are participating, and also all the distinguished speakers who are there with us on this platform. And I wish the webinar a grand success. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Sanyal Saab, for your wonderful and inspiring speech. And as you have personally, witnessed in the border areas how the infrastructure is. And yes, of course, as you suggested, we are certainly going to make the recommendation, which is not only going to be submitted to the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, but at the same time to all the concerned state tourism boards and also to the state government. That we will certainly do, Mr. Sanyal, under your leadership. And then we assure you that we in the Tourism and Hospitality Committee will no stone unturned and ensure that the infrastructure must take shape in the border districts of India. So thank you very much, Mr. Sanyal, for your wonderful remarks. I know that you have a meeting sharp in next few minutes, and a very important meeting of PHDCCI, sir. But even then, I must say from the bottom of my heart for sparing time, thank you very much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go to the next speaker. I have been told that our chairman would not be able to join in.
So he has joined.
Has he
is
joined?
there.
Okay, very nice.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman has joined. Chairman, sir, let me share it with you. Mr. Pawan Sagar Jain, Chairman of Tourism and Hospitality Committee, a leading man who is heading Bel Air with number of airlines on his fold, and at the same time doing all his efforts during COVID-19 and ensuring how tourism and hospitality sector must take shape during this challenging time. So I would request you, Mr. Jain, please unmute yourself and kindly set the theme for today's discussions. Over to you, Mr. Jain. Please unmute yourself and then speak.
Yeah. Hello. Yes.
Yes, very much audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Welcome all the speakers to the PhD Chamber webinar on Assam. And I'm looking forward to your inputs for the benefit of all the participants. We are looking forward to increasing the tourism to Assam, which is very well known to most people, but still it is an untouched area. We thank you very much, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jain, for your wonderful sentence. And please take care of your health. I know that it's a very challenging time, not only in Delhi, but all across the metros. So please take care of your health, sir. And we wish you good luck and a best health and fitness. You are an inspiring person. And I have personally learned a lot. And I'm sure in future also I'll be able to learn. Thank you very much, sir, for your joining. Thank you.
Yeah, but you know, to work with a learned person like you, it's a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Pawan Sagar Jain, Chairman of Tourism and Hospitality Committee, PHDCCI. Now, I would request my colleague Sulagna to kindly give a brief presentation on Assam. Over to you, Sulagna.
Thank you, sir. Is the screen visible?
Much visible, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Thank you. We prepared this PPT for every state, and this is just an introductory PPT to give a overview of the district which we are focusing on each webinar. So this is the map of Assam, and it shares its borders with Bangladesh and Bhutan. And we are focusing on Buxa district. I hope you're able to see the cursor, which is just here and sharing its border with Bhutan. There are 8 border districts in Assam, which are Udalguri, Buxa, Chirang, Kokrajhar, Dhubri, South Salmara, Mankachar, Kachar, and Karimganj. And there are 3 aspirational districts, Udalguri, Buxa, and Dhubri. In the first phase, we are focusing on Buxa district today. Going forward, we'll choose another aspirational district in the next phase. This is the district map of Buxa. Its headquarters is at Mushalpur. There are a number of tourist places in Buxa, and the Manas National Park is one of the famous tourist attractions there. It has number of wildlife animals and birds, etc. The next is Manas Soshi Konghor, sorry for my pronunciation. Then Moina Pokhuri, which is famous for its picnic spot and located just on the international Indo-Bhutan boundary. Bogamati is another picnic spot, as you can see in this picture also. Then the district is also famous for tea tourism. There are 4 tea gardens, which is Dumni Tea Estate, Menoka Tea Estate, Nagri Juli Tea Estate, and Fatemabad Tea Estate. So for promoting border tourism in the country, we have jotted down certain challenges, which is the gap in knowledge and information about a border area, which can be converted into a tourist destination. And of course, lack of infrastructure in terms of road connectivity, digital connectivity. And all these challenges are being addressed in each webinar by the speakers. Going forward, what we have proposed is that the interconnection between Ministry of Tourism, state tourism boards, Niti Aayog, and the private stakeholders is strategic and which will certainly help in promotion of border tourism across the country. And in this entire process, it is very important to have the local population and the local communities in place whom we can, spread awareness and also give employment opportunities. This is the webinar calendar. Total 18 webinar series we are going to organize, out of which we have already organized 15, and today we are on Assam. The next two will be held in the month of February. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sulagna, for giving this brief. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share it with you. We have, of course, all people, all panelists are very important to us, but the people, those who are on the ground, are very important to us. One is Mr. Ayush Garg. He's from Indian Administrative Service. He's the Deputy Commissioner, and another person who is having the knowledge about border and the intricacies are Commandant Suresh Kumar. Who would be certainly guiding us. What are the challenges? And of course, this border tourism, let me be very honest with you, since in the last so many years, this word called border tourism, number of people have sent me WhatsApp message where this word has come from. The word has come from Ministry of Tourism. Let me be honest with you, and I think our Honorable Prime Minister is the biggest ambassador as far as tourism in India is concerned. So this is the idea of the Honorable Prime Minister. That is why MOT, that is Ministry of Tourism, has taken shape and given us this responsibility to go to each and every border districts and then see what kind of infrastructure it's over there. And at the same time, with the help of the Niti Aayog, we would be able to send a detailed recommendation to the government that what kind of infrastructure it should be to attract not only the tourists, but at the same time, how these border districts are really going to be an ideal districts, not only from the tourism point of view, but also from the safety point of view. So with this note now, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite Mr. Ayush Garg, Deputy Commissioner, Buxa District, Government of Assam, to kindly come forward and give your address, sir. Over to you, Mr. Garg.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Srivastav. First and foremost, I would like to thank the PhD Chambers of Commerce for having this presentation and this webinar today for promoting border tourism in our district of Buxa in Assam. Now, I would keep it a little brief. Just a couple of issues that come to my mind as far as the border tourism is concerned that I would like to apprise all the members present here in this webinar today. So as one of the panelists before was mentioning that, there are different kind of notions when it comes to border tourism. Like a lot of people have a lot of different ideas. But as was mentioned in the presentation also, Buxa in itself has a lot of tourism potential, not just as a border district, but otherwise as a general district as well. And added to that, the advantage that we have here is that we have a long borderline stretching approximately 45 kilometers with Bhutan. And there itself, we have about 3 entry gates to Bhutan, wherein it's a very liberal sort of a crossover mechanism. You just need to have a valid Indian identity card, and that's all it pretty much takes to cross over the border to Bhutan. And just to give you a personal example, like whenever we have some guests over or whenever there is any official visit, so often even the dignitaries or the guests of the district, they are very much interested in visiting Bhutan. And that's a different story that these days, because of COVID pandemic, the government of Bhutan has closed down the border. So they're not really allowing anybody from the Indian side to cross over. However, it's just a temporary restriction, which should probably get lifted up in the next 5 to 6 months, as far as we can see. And on the security front, whenever we hear the word borders, usually there is an apprehension in the traveler's mind that, okay, there would be n number of restrictions, or maybe the border situation, I don't know how stable would it be, or what sort of checks and regulations would we be subjected to. However, that is what I want to apprise the committee of, that it's actually a very liberal sort of a mechanism here. And if we have a panelist from the SSB here, so they would definitely vouch this, that we have a fairly stable border here. We do keep having these monthly meetings. These are called the Lead Intelligence Agency meetings with all the paramilitary and all the SSB forces present here in the district. Not just the district, but in and around the district. So there is shared intel between administration and between the military and paramilitary forces. And everybody just comes to pretty much the same conclusion that as of now, at least for the last 7 to 8 years, the borders have been pretty stable. So there is no threat as far as security is concerned. There is no issue with regard to infrastructure. Like I myself was pretty surprised. This is my first border district with Bhutan. So before this, I was posted in areas which are closer to Nagaland, which are closer to Arunachal Pradesh. So coming from now, those areas had a pretty good infrastructure. Now, while coming to this district, I myself was a little apprehensive as to what sort of infrastructure would we get in this part of the state. However, I was actually quite pleasantly surprised to notice that the sort of roads and the infrastructure which we have near the bordering areas of Bhutan, it's way better than any other part of the state that I've seen so far. So the kind of roads, because it's all, most of the roads here in and around, let's say 10 kilometers of the international borders, they come under the jurisdiction of BRO, the Border Roads Organization. And the quality of their work execution is incomparable with our present standards of PWD at least. So that having been said, so this is what I want to put forward to the committee, that if there was this one message that you would want to take away, at least from whatever I am saying in this meeting, is that don't be apprehensive about the quality of infrastructure that you would get here as a tourist. You come here and see for yourself, like you would be actually quite pleasantly surprised, even as far as the accommodations and stays are concerned. So before working in government service, I've worked in private sector with ITC Limited. So I've been pretty much a part of their tourism department. I've been a part of their hotels business segment. So I know a little bit about tourism sector as well. And there were two things which we always used to consider as far as tourism is concerned. On the ground level, if you're talking about infrastructure, the first and foremost thing that comes to mind is basically our hotels and kind of accommodations that we can avail of to the tourists. And the second thing which comes is very importantly, that's about the law and order situation in the area. Is the area fairly stable or not? Like, would there be any security concerns to the tourists visiting the area? And thirdly, it's also about what is the unique, let's say, proposition that a place has to offer. So on all the three fronts, I would say that Buxa really has a lot to offer. As far as the security situation is concerned, I just spoke about it. As far as the accommodations are concerned, now a lot of guests would actually here be surprised to know that we have facilities as good as, let's say, a 3-star or a 4-star accommodation here available in and around the border areas. Somebody had just mentioned about Manas National Park. Now Manas boasts of having around 17 resorts, some of which fall into even 3-star category or 4-star categories. So with a lot more other resorts opening up. So this is the situation as far as infrastructure is concerned. Now coming to the third and I think one of the segments that any prospective tourist would be most interested in is wanting to visit Buxa. So tea tourism, I would say that's fairly small here. If you were actually more interested in tea tourism, you would probably be wanting to visit somewhere in the upper Assam. That is the northernmost part of Assam. That is where the tea tourism really takes up in a big way. But other than that, what we do have to offer you here is the Manas National Park. Now, most of the people who are not really familiar with the geography of the Northeast, including me before I came into the service, all that we have heard of in Assam is the Kaziranga National Park. However, having seen both the national parks and having known the statistics of both the national parks, I can say it confidently that we have a higher biodiversity here in the Manas National Park. So the variety that you get to see here is probably not even available in Kaziranga Park. And that is what the Forest Department of Assam even agrees with. And at the second level, the unique proposition that we offer is the border tourism, which is pretty much this what this session is about. So if you were to want to cross over to Bhutan, one of the passages which is really important comes from the state of West Bengal, but the other prominent passages into Bhutan are actually from Baksa district. So if you were looking for a straightforward plane crossing over into Bhutan, so this would probably be the best district for you to do that. And it is for the same reason that we have a heavy amount of traffic flying in from Bhutan, to and fro from Bhutan on a daily basis. So even in the current lockdown situation from their side, I mean, the lockdown is from the Bhutanese side. Even then we have a traffic of say 50 to 60 trucks a day on a daily basis. And we have 3 such openings. And so we can say a combined traffic of around 200 to 250 odd trucks flying in a day. So, and normally when the borders are all open, what we notice is that these, let's say the traffic reaches somewhere around 600 to 700. So if these many trucks or if these many vehicles are flying to and fro, you can very well imagine the condition of the roads or the favorability of the entire geography. So since the geography favors this area, that is why you have a whole lot of traffic flying between these two geographies. So with that said, I from the district side would welcome each and every member, not just present in this meeting, but if you were to take this message forward and relay it at different fora, that please don't be apprehensive about visiting border districts and border states. And you would be really pleasantly surprised to see what really Baksa and Assam in general have to offer as far as tourism is concerned, and the way we are going about this. And obviously the district is always there. The Deputy Commissioner's office is always there to support any such initiative in any which way possible. With that said, I thank you all again for giving me a patient hearing. And I thank the PhD Chambers of Commerce again for having me here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Garg Sahab. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks. And as a DC, before I request the other speaker to come forward and speak, let me just ask you, how's the COVID position over there at this point in time?
See, presently we are in the midst of our third wave, but even so, we are doing fairly better compared to the other parts of the country. We have a present positivity rate of somewhere around 4.5%. That is the positivity that we are experiencing. Whereas I think the national average presently stands somewhere around 11%. The cases no doubt are increasing, but I think the situation should stabilize in another 15 to 20 days. After 20 days, I think we should be over the wave.
Fantastic, fantastic. And if I ask you on a personal note, Garg Sahab, how is your personal experience? Because you being a Garg coming from the northern part of India and now serving in the northern eastern side of the country, how is your personal experience, sir, over there?
I would say it couldn't have been better. See, just as a layman, I would say, not as an IAS officer or as a deputy commissioner of the district. See, especially us North Indians, we tend to carry a lot of stereotypes about a lot of different places. So even now, when I visit my home state, which is Punjab, and let's say if I interact with some of my old colleagues or some people that I've been in touch with, they usually still have this image of Assam. There are 3 or 4 stereotypes which actually I get to bust a lot. One is that it's a hilly state. No, it's not a hilly state. Assam is all plains. Except for 2 districts, we don't have hills in any of the other districts. We have 35 districts here in Assam. The second thing is people think that it's full of tribals. Yes, we do have tribals, but the majority of the population, if you will look at the social composition of Assam, tribals are a small part of the state. The majority belongs to the general category and the OBC category. That is what it is. And thirdly, people tend to think that it's just full of jungles, that there's hardly any urbanization in Assam. Now, this is another myth. If you will come and have a look at some of our metro cities, it's fairly comparable to any other part of the country. So these are the 3 myths which I have encountered over and over. And anybody having served in Northeast, even for a year, will give you the same feedback that this is a very, very generalized sort of stereotype which almost every mainland Indian carries about the Northeast, and not just Assam in general. So that has been my experience, and I think I couldn't have asked for a better state or a better cadre for me to have served it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Garg. Let me just share it with you. Two feedback. One feedback is from one of my friend from New Zealand. She has just now heard it to you, and then she's saying that my next trip would be Buxa, which she says since she's from UP. So for in her language, it is going to be briefcase. And the second lady, who is another friend of mine from India TV, Jyotsna Patni, she is saying, Yogesh, this is the best, this thing, and let us have a tourism webinar, in fact, actual seminar in Buxa. So yes, we will certainly seek your kind assistance, Garg, and we will certainly be having post COVID-19 a tourism program in Buxa with all my friends, those who have joined, 77 people from tour and travel operators, those who have joined. So you can note down, Sulagna, in your list that our next endeavor would be to go to Buxa post COVID-19, seek all the kind assistance and guidance from Garg Sahab, and then we will have a fantastic show over there with the help of Assam Tourism. Thank you very much, Mr. Garg, for all your guidance, and we look forward to your support in future too. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Ayush Garg from Indian Administrative Service. He's the current Deputy Commissioner of Buxa District, Government of Assam, giving all the details. Thanks once again, Mr. Garg. Now we will have, before I request the another aspiring lady who is a senior person from Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Rupinder Brar, and always been supporting and guiding PhD Chamber Tourism Committee to come forward and give her perspective. But before that, I would request my colleague Sulagna to give a small presentation on Incredible India. Sulagna, please go ahead.
Once you visit Assam, it stays with you forever.
Thank you, Sulagna. Thank you very much for this presentation. And well, we were not knowing that Priyanka is the brand ambassador for Assam Tourism. Great. So nice to see some of the inspiring ladies from Bollywood also for giving and promoting their own state instead of promoting the European countries always, I have particularly seen. Anyway, so let's go to, as I have said, Ms. Rupinder Brar, and I am personally very much, impressed to meet her. She is from Indian Revenue Service, and she's the Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Ma'am, let me share it with you, not my comment. अभी मेरे पास एक कमेंट आया है कि देश का बॉर्डर सुरक्षित हाथों में है, since we have a young officer there as a Deputy Commissioner Buxa, और देश का टूरिज्म बहुत सुरक्षित हाथों में है, since we have another inspiring young IRS officer as Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. So ma'am, floor is yours. Please speak yourself and give ideas, guidance. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yogesh. And as always, thank you for all the adulation. One of the reasons I think I keep accepting to speak is because all the love and affection that you give me, usse mera वैसे खून बढ़ जाता है. So, namaste to everyone. Pawan Jain ji, aapko bhi bahut bahut namaskar. I hope you are keeping good health. And I can see the smiling Sulagna there. So, hi Sulagna. And it was wonderful listening to you, Ayush. And it is, very encouraging, in fact, to find a young officer from Punjab going and working in Assam and actually now working to breaking stereotypes. I think he made a few very, very fine statements, and I think much required breaking down of stereotypes. So doing wonderful job, Ayush. We keep hearing of all the good work that you're doing, in fact. So congratulations for that. And to all other listeners who are here with us today, PhD Chambers, I must congratulate you for keeping the momentum on in terms of taking border tourism as a subject. Yes, it started as a thought in the ministry as to why and how a country like India, which has significant borders, international borders, it also has a lot of domestic borders. And as Ayush, correctly pointed out that within the country also there is so much lack of information. And there are so many misconceptions that need to be broken down when we talk of domestic tourism. People sometimes more comfortable traveling overseas than traveling within the country. And that I think is a challenge for us. And we are hoping to work on that in times to come. And that's where perhaps a pandemic like COVID, that's the silver lining of it. It's pushed everybody to travel within the country. And that's why Dekho Apna Desh has become the kind of slogan and target, and people turning back and saying, oh, wow, we never knew apne desh mein itna kuch hai, So I think it's been a beautiful period of discovery, sometimes virtual, sometimes physical. It's been 2 steps ahead, 3 steps back, kind of a journey going on, but hopefully in times to come, we will be able to travel far more than what we are able to do currently. Coming specifically to the subject for today, Assam, focus on Buxa, and I was, as I said, we've been hearing of some very interesting work that Ayush is doing there. And though he may not know about it, but good work always travels. And so that's encouraging for us to know that, yes, indeed, the border areas are in safe hands, and not only safe hands, but hands of people who are taking so much interest in, getting digital technologies together, in creating awareness, in community empowerment, and in ensuring that people actually take pride in working in the areas of tourism, travel, and hospitality. A lot of effort is being done. And PhD Chambers, you have been doing so many webinars. And yes, I am also adding to Sulagna and to you, Yogesh, that we have to stop doing this border tourism virtually now. And let's do the next event somewhere where you've done so many. We thought we'd go to Ladakh, we thought we'd go to Banaskantha, we thought we'd do Jaisalmer, but a lot of things pending. So maybe it may not be a bad idea to actually go to Buxa in the times to come.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
But virtual thoda ban karna chahiye ab hame.
Yes, sure.
And we'd love to host everyone, ma'am,
Yes.
including the Chambers of Commerce here in Buxa.
Absolutely. So I think, Yogesh, March, let's target March. Hopefully by that time, the Omicron would have also come down, and we can, towards the later part of March or early April, before it starts getting a little more monsoonal, we should make a plan.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, certainly.
Okay. So now coming, I have earlier shared some of the concerns and thoughts and also opportunities that lie for India. And today, because we are in Assam, a state which borders with Meghalaya, Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, Mizoram, West Bengal, and Bhutan, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. I think if we are looking at border tourism here, you're looking at both the national part of the movement and also the international part of it. How, from the tourism perspective, can a better value be created from the tourist perspective? Because the moment I, as a tourist, am looking at a package which will take me across 2 or 3 different terrains, you're adding a lot of variety, because a tourist is not governed by political boundaries. I think and that is something very important that we as a ministry, we as a people need to understand, that as a tourist, if in my one trip, let's say I'm a tourist from UK or US or Germany or wherever from, and I'm actually able to travel 2 countries in one trip, the kind of value addition that I suddenly get as a, that, okay, I actually went to 2 international destinations, adds a very different kind of value. And therefore we should be looking And BIMSTEC is doing a lot of work for that in terms of how to create value of cross-border tourism when we are here mentioning about international borders. But within the country also, there is so much of diversity that each of our states provides. And I think making the right itineraries is also currently a very important part of promotional build-up. That if one state is offering X, then the other state is offering Y, and how to bring those creatively together. But on the more thematic part, and that's where I must congratulate all of you that you've actually managed to bring the dialogue to this level in the industry, is that it addresses so many concerns of national security. And for a country like India, where we are bordering a lot of other countries along our, particularly the northern, the western, and the eastern part of our country, it takes and assumes a huge significance on how do we keep the communities engaged in these border areas. And that's where the role of tourism is very significant, because the moment you create value for a person's livelihood in a place, you are encouraging the person to stay back. One of the reasons why people have had to move away from the border areas is because we haven't, over the period of years and years, not created enough economic value for them. And that's where tourism and hospitality come in and create so many other opportunities, both the direct and the indirect one. And I think that's where we not only need to see it as an opportunity for tourism, but how it aids eventually in making sure that our border areas are actually inhabited and are protected because of the fact that people live over there. If we know, a lot of infiltration happens in these areas primarily because they have become so desolate. And the need, therefore, to work towards building robust tourism in all our border areas. And today, of course, we're talking about Assam, but all our border areas is extremely important from the national security perspective. What it also does is, and like any other community, then the communities in the border areas also have very unique cultures. They have very unique dance forms, music forms, art forms, food, clothing, everything is so unique. And it gives us a huge, therefore, opportunity of creating an experiential takeaway from the tourist perspective, but from the community perspective, you're helping them to conserve and preserve their cultures. Because the moment you are not letting them stay in their areas, and if everybody has to come into big cities, simply because the big cities have become hubs of employment, what are you doing? You're basically making a very cookie cutter kind of civilization. Everybody looking the same, everybody dressing the same, everybody speaking over time the same languages. And I think in a country like India, which has so much diversity, that's another huge contribution that tourism creates in society. When we go, we create a value, we appreciate somebody's food, we say, oh, I loved your music, or I loved an instrument that you play. You've created economic value, but you've also created pride in the person. Now, there are people coming from all over the world watching and actually carrying back happy memories. So I think that's another reason for which, why, and how we should be looking at creating more organized ways of bringing these different experiential journeys along our borders. That then takes us back as to where and what should we be doing, both as a ministry, as a government body, and also as stakeholders. Because we certainly, therefore, do need to be looking at skilling, at creating the kind of capacity building that is required. Because if you need a homestay to be created, then clearly we need to be investing in the local people in making these homestays professional spaces. Because if you want a good quality tourist to come, it might be very rustic, but there are certain basic expectations that any tourist around the world today has. So how to make sure that a certain level of capacity building is created amongst the locals so that they're able to offer all the services that a tourist needs, yes, in a very local way, but at the same time, in a very organized professional manner. I think that's where we need to start doing a lot more. We are planning some workshops, and in fact, we just had a meeting last week for Uttarakhand also, on how we need to start now. You actually helped us to create a lot of dialogue, as I said, but now we need to go that one step forward and actually start engaging with communities in what is it that they need, figuring out first from them as to where are the gaps, and then filling those gaps in terms of either training workshops, or is it just the promotional part that is required, or do they even need some funding? Because you could have a scenario where somebody has a beautiful home, but it might just need a little bit of upgradation from the perspective of being more user-friendly from the tourist perspective. So I think that gap analysis is something we need to now carry out in a very organized fashion. And I'll request PhD chambers that we pick maybe 1 or 2 states to begin with as pilot study, or do all at one go. Yogesh, I am putting a formal request through this forum to you today that let's start working on a couple of states, identify a few districts and do a gap analysis, and actually start creating capacity building workshops, whether it is in terms of basic things that a tourist is, or storytelling, or whatever that is actually required. Because while we will do this on the larger infra part, which Ayush already mentioned, a lot of districts already have very good infra. And even where there is lacking infra, that study is already being done by the government of India, that where should the roads go, where should the telecom, and where should the power be supplied is a work in progress. And we are looking at that happening. Already connectivity in terms of civil aviation has improved tremendously, and the road network is expanding. So while that is happening, let us start working on the more softer part of interventions, and the human resource capacity building is something we need to start working on, and also start working on the promotional part. There are quite a lot of people already offering very good homestays, but we are not even aware of them. I get aware of them sometimes on personal networks, through friends, lots happening. But can we create some kind of a platform? It could be in an app form, not very complicated these days and not very expensive either. So could we actually engage with young officers, the deputy collectors in these districts, and see and how we can create an engagement on digital media and create many more informational networks? I think that will go a long way in actually bringing tourists to this area. Because the moment a few start going, then the word of mouth, and then it builds its own kind of attraction if a few people can start going. So I think those are some of my thoughts on the whole subject. I have said on the generic part of border tourism earlier also, and therefore from the governmental perspective, from central government, we are again reiterating that view that along with all our forces, and I can see Commandant Suresh Kumar also on screen, that along with all the work that our forces are doing in terms of guarding the borders, inhabiting the borders with the usual activities is going to go a long way in ensuring national security and in creating local employment. So fantastic work, PhD Chambers, and let's take it to the next level and actually start visiting these areas in terms of doing workshops for capacity building, and also carrying some FAM tours for our tour operators as to where all does opportunity lie in the border areas of India. So thank you very much for listening to me, and fantastic to always work together with all of you. And thanks for having me there.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for your wonderful words. And let me assure you that on behalf of PHDCCI Tourism and Hospitality Committee, that your guidance and support is always needed. But yes, of course, as a secretariat, it is my duty to ensure that my entire team over here in the committee must look forward to work in such a way so that there has to be a full-fledged information to all the prospective tourists of, especially in these districts. And at the same time, there has to be some mechanism so that each and every stakeholders come at one platform and then dialogue, so that every information must go to the prospective tourist. Ma'am, we really assure you that, yes, we are certainly going to have such kind of workshops in future. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also not give any more adulation to what Ms. Brar has said, but she is one of the officers. I have just now received an email from Ministry of Tourism under her team, that Ministry of Tourism is having a meeting on how the things would be by 2047. So I think on that note, really, it's really very challenging. And at the same time, I whenever I see such kind of notices, ma'am, from your ministry, that preparation of Vision India 2047, it really makes me so proud that actually India is in a great hand, in a safe hands. Of course, in the ministry is thinking till 2047 and involving each and every concerned stakeholders. And when we have Mr. Ayush Garg as well as Commandant Suresh in these districts, such inspiring people all across us, and we really need to be so grateful, so thankful that government is thinking to make this entire infrastructure in such a way so that more and more people go, more and more people become more responsible, and then increase not only the tourism, but at the same time, how this entire infrastructure will also generate a lot of employment. So thank you very much, Ms. Barar, for your wonderful remarks. And I assure you once again, of course, we will join hand in hands, and as per your direction, we will certainly work and meeting with all the concerned stakeholders and do. Of course, in March, we will come with some, hybrid format. We will have programs in the border district. Thank you very much once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ms. Rupindra Barar, Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And ma'am, we will certainly be meeting you on 31st of January for this meeting. Look forward to meet you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will invite Ms. Moitri Das, Deputy Director, Tourism, Government of Assam, to kindly come forward, Ms. Das, and give your perspective for this border tourism. Over to you, Ms. Das.
Thank you, sir. I have a presentation actually, so just give me some time.
Please go ahead, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you see?
Ma'am, we can see.
Yes,
Please
it's
go ahead.
visible.
Okay. Good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists present here today, and special thanks to PHDCCI for taking the initiative on border tourism, especially during this testing times where the tourism industry is the most affected industry due to the pandemic. As the world was slowly recovering from COVID-19 and the borders gradually started to open, the third wave of the pandemic has made the industry step back yet again. Given the geographic position, the richness of the ecological assets, and the increasing focus on engaging with the East, Assam has become the new growth engine for India. The region shares international boundaries with Bangladesh and the Kingdom of Bhutan, Assam, and the rest of the Northeast region are connected with India only through a narrow corridor in North Bengal, known as the Chicken's Neck. Boroland, a land of gateway to the beautiful northeast region of India, is an autonomous region comprising of 4 districts on the north bank of the Brahmaputra River, below the foothills of Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh, with the 5th district, Tamulpur, being added very recently. The entire Boroland lies in the border of Bhutan. The Baksa-Bhutan stretch is approximately 90 kilometers. Udalguri, Bhutan is 80 kilometers. Sirang, Bhutan is 70 kilometers, and Kokrajhar, Bhutan is approximately 40 kilometers. Gelepu and Samdrup Jonkar are the only land border areas open to tourists in Bhutan from Assam side. Situated along the Indo-Bhutan border, Saralpara in Kokrajhar district is quite close to the headquarters of Sarpang Jongkhan in Bhutan. It has immense tourism potentialities, but infrastructural facility is inadequate here. Container hotels may perhaps be introduced here as it is eco-friendly. Before COVID-19, pandemic, Sarpang town in Bhutan was easily accessible for visitors. All one needed was to show a voter ID card, but due to COVID-19 protocols, they have sealed the entry point to Bhutan from here. Another popular entry point to Gelepu in Bhutan also remains closed due to the pandemic. These places are frequented by tourists mainly from Assam to enjoy the scenic beauty or simply for shopping. The Raimona National Park was declared as the 6th National Park of Assam on June 9, 2021. Named after the historical capital of Bijni state, Raimona, the park has been recognized for its teeming biodiversity. It consists of contiguous forest patches covering an area of 422 square kilometers, comprising the northern part of the notified Ripu Reserve Forest, which forms the westernmost buffer to Manas Tiger Reserve in the foothills of Eastern Himalaya biodiversity hotspot. Known for its historical elephant habitats, the government of Assam had declared in 2003 the Sirang Ripu Elephant Reserve with an area of 2,600 square kilometers. The newly declared park, along with Manas National Park, is vital to transboundary movements of elephants and other wildlife through northern West Bengal, Bhutan, and Arunachal Pradesh. This will immensely boost ecotourism prospects in this region. Located in the Baksa district is the Manas National Park, renowned for the most exotic wildlife living in harmony. This national park is the only place to be designated as the Biosphere Reserve, a natural heritage site, Project Tiger Reserve, all at the same time. Located in the foothills of the Eastern Himalayas, the park is flanked by the giant Manas River, separating it from the Royal Manas National Park in Bhutan. The Royal Manas National Park, located in the south central part of Bhutan, is continuous to the Manas National Park in Assam. It is not only a pride for its rich biodiversity, but it also offers spectacular landscape, eye-catching lush valley and rivers, immense scenic beauty, unique culture and lifestyle, which attracts tourists to visit the Manas National Park. About 90% of the park area is under the forest cover, including vast areas of tropical monsoon forest interspersed with swaths of savanna grassland and wide riverbeds. River Drangmechu, draining from the eastern Bhutan, and Mangdichu, emerging from the central Bhutan, meet at Pangbang to form the Manas River. Night camping and rafting was organized for tourists starting from Mongar in Bhutan to Pangbang, and exit Bhutan was via Mothanguri to Basbari. The travel to India starts from Manas National Park. However, these activities has come to a halt due to the pandemic, and such itineraries could perhaps be done in a more organized manner with proper infrastructure in place. Bhairavkunda is located in the tri-junction of Bhutan, Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. The Jampani River originating in Bhutan and Bhairavi River merge here to form the Dhansiri River. The Dhansiri River is a major tributary of Brahmaputra River. An irrigation project was constructed on Dhansiri River at Bhairavkunda. It now feeds thousands of farmers of downstream. Bhairavkunda is a small town area under the Udalguri district of BTR area in Assam, and it is a transit place for the eastern province of Bhutan. Besides this, one must visit Getsamani, a man-made forest, as well as an eco park in Bhairavkunda. It was once a thriving forest between 1979 to 1989, but was reduced to a wasteland due to the rapid and illegal deforestation and a succession of floods. It became a barren land due to the efforts of the local community. With the formation of the Joint Forest Management Committee, 14 lakhs plantation has been undertaken till today, and it is a home for a number of animals such as leopard, wild elephants, wild goat, deer, besides being a paradise for the ornithologists. These are a few circuits mentioned here, which can be undertaken once the borders are open, which will have a positive economic impact on both of the countries. In fact, some 2 or 3 years back, a good number of Japanese trip organizers, in coordination with the local stakeholders, had undertaken several textile trips in the border of Assam and Bhutan. A small place in the heart of Daranga township runs a weaving cooperative, which produces different types of commonly used textile for Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh, Monpa and Shardu. Go, a checkered pattern cloth woven either of cotton or eri. A number of Bhutanese merchants stopped here and traded in bulk. They also have outlets near their village which sell these gho cloth along with the Bhutanese textile like kira, which is a dress for the women. The village is tourist friendly as they receive many tourists who either enter or exit from here to Bhutan. The tourism sector plays a vital role in the country's GDP by not only bringing financial dividends, but also by strengthening the ties of the people and their culture. There has been special thrust in recent years to develop Assam and the Northeast through the Look East and the Act East policies of the Government of India, which has been suitably supported by the state governments of the respective states. Hence, boosting of tourism activities between the South Asian countries and Assam has immense tourism potential, which will in turn have a positive economic impact for both the region. Due to its close proximity with South Asian countries, as well as sharing borders with Bhutan and Bangladesh, the state can surely become a gateway to the foreign tourists from South Asian countries. The need of the hour is establishing a smooth tourist corridor, which not only boosts tourism, but also benefit trade linkages between the regions. I feel that the Southeast Asian countries and the state share a lot of similarities in terms of culture and heritage. The New Year festivals such as the Pi Mai and Laos in Laos, Songkrang in Thailand, Sangkang in Arunachal Pradesh, as well in parts of Upper Assam and Rongali or Bohag Bihu in Assam, is celebrated around the same time in the month of April and holds a lot of similarity with one another. These festivals offer a unique standpoint for both the regions to assimilate and form a stronger association on the basis of common cultural practices and heritage. The tourism opportunities such as theme-based tourism may be explored. People could perhaps plan to celebrate the festivities in each other's land with the same excitement as they do at home. In fact, the language too can become can perhaps be highlighted. The Thai people living in parts of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam have similarities with the languages spoken in Thailand and Laos, as they're a branch of the Thai Kadai language family. The Assamese people living in Mandalay are interested to visit Assam to know about their roots. Many Assamese who were brought to Myanmar were forced as laborers when the Ahom kingdom came under the Burmese control. They have now assimilated into the Myanmarese society by converting to Buddhism, but a few sections, say around 30 to 40 families, have kept their Assamese identity intact. The common physical features, similarities in art and dance forms, social structure, eating habits, etc., puts Assam and the Northeast region in a favorable position with the Southeast Asian nations. What we perhaps need to do is educate the people about our common cultural heritage. Again, many communities in the Northeast traces their origin to the south of Yarlung Zangbo, the source of the mighty river Brahmaputra, the lifeline of Assam, including the Thai Ahoms who are called the Shan in Myanmar, Thai in Thailand, Lao in Laos, and probably more. The similarities in the noun between Chinese language and dialects used amongst the communities of Assam and Northeast and Southeast Asian countries is worth investigating. It can thus become the amalgamation of pot of culture, business, and tourism, wherein we may perhaps exploit the culture, language, and ethnic similarities between the two regions to create a flourishing and synergistic tourist and trade economy. The strategic location of Mandalay Sageng along the abundant natural resources, manpower, and tourism potential has immense trade viability. The Government of India and the state government has identified the need to develop various tourist circuits across the northeastern states based on specific themes, geography, heritage, and other factors such as social or religious importance, medical tourism, etc. Based on the consumers' behavioral pattern after experiencing the pandemic, what's clear to everybody in the industry right now is that there'll be a lot of demand for offbeat destinations. Travel in close proximity with people will prefer to stay in pristine surroundings, enjoy nature, and stay there for a week or two. The region can perhaps establish travel bubbles to corridors for promoting tourism activities like the European countries have done. E-tourism is fast picking up. It's an important opportunity for innovation and digital development in areas such as virtual reality products, training, supporting SMEs. As you're aware, the tourism jobs losses have had a disproportionate impact on women, youth, and the indigenous people, and lastly, tourism businesses. It is evident that there is tremendous potential in the travel and tourism sector that can be harnessed by Assam and the border countries to contribute to the region's economic recovery. The opportunity now is to seize the moment of calm to envision and build a more productive, resilient tourism sector that is based on strong border collaboration and dialogue. Thank you.
Much, ma'am. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, Ms. Maitri, and it was really very nice to see number of detailed information over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, will not take much time since we have number of very important speakers now. We will immediately go to Mr. Saurabh Rishi, Joint Advisor, Aspirational Districts Program, Niti Aayog, who has always been very supportive. So, may I request Mr. Saurabh to kindly give your perspective? Mr. Saurabh, are you there, sir? Okay, so he's not there. Maybe some technical issue. No problem. He has always been speaking on border tourism and giving the perspective from Niti Aayog, which we have always joined hands with Niti Aayog. So anyway, maybe there is, next time. Now let me go to another very inspiring person. He is Mr. Suresh Kumar, Commandant, Guwahati Frontier Border Security Force. He is there, and let me share it with you, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever I see a very army man giving a perspective on infrastructure, it is always good to learn and hear from him. So may I request Commandant Saab to kindly come forward and give your perspective. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. A special good afternoon to Mr. Pawan, the youngest person among us. And it's always good to see him. He becomes so young when we talk about promotion of tourism that is in our country. Thank you, Colonel Sanyal, sir. Thank you, Yogesh, sir. Thank you, Sulagna, for giving me this opportunity to represent the world's largest border guarding force, that is Border Security Force, BSF. We call it the first line of defense. Now, before starting here, I just want to tell all of you that since we are talking about the border tourism, border India is sharing Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, all these borders with various countries. So BSF is meant only to guard Bangladesh and Pakistan borders, whereas SSB is mandated to man Nepal and Bhutan borders. ITBP is responsible to man, that is Indo-China border, and Assam Rifle is manning Myanmar border. So all these forces are having various borders. So whenever we'll talk, and I wish we could have ITBP as well as SSB also at this house, because they are also equally responsible for the state of Assam. Sir, when we talk
very good idea, sir. We will certainly do it in the next webinar. Very good idea, Commandant sir. Please.
Because there are 8 bordering districts in Assam, 4 are with SSB and 4 are with BSF. That is South Salamara, Dhubri, Kachar, and Karimganj. Now, when we talk of the border tourism, there is a very live example of border tourism, which has started by BSF only, by creating a retreat ceremony on daily basis at Wagah. And you all have seen that it is a festival every day, and it is so sentimental between both the countries, and it has become a very attractive point for everyone. Whosoever is visiting Amritsar or Punjab or going towards Jammu, they all like to visit Wagah. And here I also want to just tell that I have a vast experience serving here in the Northeast of 16 years. I have served in all the states, and every state has got some peculiarities. Because I just want to tell to all of you that people here in Northeast are very sensitive. So when we are going to start this border tourism, they might feel disturbed. their lifestyle is like that only. They don't want interference, much interference from the outside world. So we have to pick those destinations which are well connected, and we must give opportunity to these local population to start their businesses for the tourists, instead of giving this chance to outsiders. So they might get agitated. So these are the things which we have to think very, very sensibly while promoting border tourism. And I want to ensure everyone, like we are deployed on the border, the last point of the border of India can be visited by any citizen of India. There is no like restriction for any Indian citizen, except in those areas where it is not permissible because of some security or other reasons. And those are in Western theater. Otherwise, in Eastern theater, there is no such place except the China border. So all the borders can be visited by any member of India. And we don't allow the other people to come inside our own country. And we don't allow our people go illegally outside the country. That is our aim. So visiting and all the places in border, though they are remote, but they all are beautiful. We can call them virgin beauties. I have seen entire Arunachal, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, wonderful places to visit. Like Miss Rupinder has said, she has also visited all the places. All the places are so wonderful. Here in Assam, people who are serving in Assam, they have not visited few bordering places. We are felicitating them to visit border. We are arranging for them. And one more thing I just want to add, like Mr. Ayush told, I have visited Buxa district in connection with my official work. Buxa is a beautiful district, no doubt. Infrastructure is also good. Roads are wonderful. Similarly, we have to plan to connect all these remote areas with better conditional roads. Then only we can explore all these places. Connectivity in Northeast is a big problem. So we have to take few good steps in this respect also. And we have to create some Yatri Niwas type of things, because there are very, very limited places to stay here in Northeast. So this is a good beginning, sir. We wish you all the best. And I once again assure that BSF will always be there to help PhD Chamber of Commerce of Industry. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Commandant Saab. Thank you very much. A very nice idea. Very good suggestion, sir, which you have given, that let us involve and connect with all the arms of these security forces, and then maybe in the next webinar or in a hybrid format as suggested by Rupinder Bararji, so that we can have a very wonderful discussions, sharing the best practices, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, जब हम ये कहते हैं कि हमारे देश की एक एक इंच की जमीन सुरक्षित है, तो उसके पीछे जो लोग हैं, उसके पीछे जो पूरा काम कर रहे हैं, उसके पीछे जो अपनी पूरी शक्ति लगाए हुए हैं, वो हैं कमांडेंट सुरेश कुमार, टीम and people from ITBP and from our armed forces. I am not saying because of what he has told, but at the same time, whatever my discussions there with Mr. Saurabh Sanyal as our Secretary General, and he has spent more than 30 years over there, the challenges which they have is tremendous. So at the same time, we all salute, sir, to you, and from the bottom of my heart, we request you to kindly come forward in our such endeavors. And I'm very happy that you have come forward and then given your ideas, and PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry would love to work along with the BSF and other government agencies to ensure that people of this country to become responsible tourists, which is what Rupinder Bararji, she has said in her speech over there. So that's also the objective of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much, Commandant, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
We salute you. Thank you, sir. Now we go to another. I have been told that Mr. Saurabh Rishi has joined. He is the joint advisor of aspirational districts. program, Niti Ayog. May I request you, Mr. Saurabh, to kindly come forward and give your brief speech. Over to you, Mr. Saurabh.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Esteemed panelists, and good afternoon to all the participants. At the very outset, I would like to thank once again PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing these border tourism sessions, and especially including the aspirational districts as a focus area of tourism development. And Buxa is one of the 7 aspirational districts of Assam in the aspirational districts program. And it has done quite well in terms of improving on various indicators related to socio-economic development, such as health and nutrition, education, agriculture, financial inclusion, and basic infrastructure. And speaking of these indicators, if we see many of these indicators are directly or indirectly related to tourism development in a way. If we take indicators such as road connectivity, internet connectivity, sanitation facilities, drinking water facilities, or even social indicators like health and education of children and women, pregnant women, I think so. And of course, there is skill development as well. Some way or the other, these indicators, the improvement in these indicators improve the overall tourism potential of a particular district. And Buxa has done quite well in improving many of these basic infrastructure indicators. And conversely, if we see the tourism development provides economic opportunity to the citizens, and in turn increases the social development. So it's a vicious cycle that plays a part in improving, where the social indicators improve the economic opportunity, and the economic opportunity again improve the social outcomes of a particular district and its citizens. And the esteemed speakers preceding me have already spoken about what kind of tourism potential is available in the district of Buxa. But as some of the speakers mentioned, that we need to keep in mind the sustainable tourism, uh, providing, I mean, sensitive to the local and tribes and the environment in the particular district, and at the same time trying to explore other opportunities such as homestays and the national parks and the, as commandants mentioned prior to me, even the border areas can be explored, the last mile connectivity can be explored. So this will be a good initiative for Buxa district. And also keeping in mind the accommodation facilities available in Buxa district need to be ramped up to provide an overall connectivity, not only from Guwahati and other nearby places, but also identifying who is the target audience who will visit a particular district, what kind of people will visit, and channelize the development according to that potential. Thank you, sir, once again, and all the best from aspirational district side.
Thank you, Mr. Saurabh. Thank you very much. You have always been very supportive and guiding PhD Chamber, and we will certainly come, sir, with the recommendation. So we will seek your kind assistance to make a meaningful recommendations to submit it to the government and all to the state tourism boards as well as to the state government. Ladies and gentlemen, Niti Ayog is a very important body of India, and at the same time under their different sectors opinion, they have always been guiding not only to PHDCCI but to all Chamber of Commerce and other associations, so that again and again we are saying that tourism, how it should be continued in a sustainable way, and people should become responsible tourism. So I must say from the bottom of my heart to Mr. Saurabh as well as to all Niti Ayog officials who have always helped and supported us. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also share it with you over here. We have Mr. Sudhir Sopti, the former regional head of Delhi Tourism, who has always been supportive of such ideas, and at the same time, a very special member of our Tourism and Hospitality Committee, giving ideas. And I am now going to give this responsibility on his shoulder, that how the next program, along with Mr. Rajan Sehgal and other secretariat members, we should be having in a hybrid format as advised by Ms. Rupinder Brar. So Mr. Sopti, this is going to be your idea on your shoulder, and you need to connect with Niti Ayog, since you have always been doing a lot of good work in Delhi tourism, and since you are an honorary member, so you really need to, now the time has come, you really need to give back to the industry. So Mr. Sudhir Sopti, this is an appeal from PHDCCI. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now two important more person, and then we will come back to Mr. Rajan Sehgal for his concluding remarks. We have Mr. Debajit Kumar Barua, President Tour Operator Association of Assam, TOAA. Before he gives his remarks, I can see number of messages, in the chat box. Nava Barao saying, "Hi everyone, I am a resident of Buxa district near Bagmati. Sir, as mentioned, we gave great infrastructure." Very nice. I am very, very happy that this is the objective of such webinars. If you can inspire one person, to become, responsible tourist, I am 100% sure Ms. Barar would agree with us that yes, that is the objective of Ministry of Tourism, to make people responsible, to make people in such a way so that the tourists go and increase the entire perspective of this. Ms. Barar, I would love to have your comment before I go to the next speaker. One of the studies of MOT says that if we have one tourist in any district, in any part of the country, it creates 2 jobs over there from the employment perspective. So I think we really need to become responsible and ensure tourism becomes sustainable. Any comment, ma'am, on this, since you are there?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, that's the only way to go forward. Because when we talk of tourism, when we talk of increasing travel, but doing it in a sustainable method is very important. That's actually where the whole concept of involving local communities comes in. Because the moment you start involving the local communities, you already work towards sustainability. And because you're talking of using local traditions, you're talking of using local materials, you're talking of the locals continuing to stay and no outsiders actually going and adding further burden on the ecosystem over there. So I think that's where the whole narrative is beautifully weaved together. And that's what, when we say about experiential tourism, when we say about community-based tourism, these are exactly the guiding thoughts when we are talking at a larger scale of saying what is sustainable tourism. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And that is why I have personally, I spoke just now to Mr. Sopti and told him that when he was in Delhi tourism, he gave this idea of agri plus culture tourism. And that is not the idea of UN, United Nations FAO says, if you change any country's agri system, the culture changes. So that's why we did in Sikkim agri plus culture tourism. And all these things are really, going to increase the agri-tourism part. And I think you will agree with us. People, those who visit India, go to Taj Mahal, Lal Killa, everywhere, but not at the far-flung areas. So that is very important. So, ma'am, as you said, we are certainly going to revive agri-plus culture tourism with the responsibility now with Mr. Sudhir Sopti, and Secretariat is 100% with him and will 24/7 work and ensure in a hybrid format, ma'am, as you said, in either in February or March. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this note now, let me go to Mr. Debajit Kumar Barua, President Tour Operator Association of Assam, to kindly come forward and give his brief presentation. Over to you, Mr. Barua.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, and very good evening to all the esteemed panelists present there and spectators. My name is Debajit Bora. It's not Borua. My name is Debajit Bora. Anyway,
I'm sorry for my wrong pronunciation. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you, PHDCCI Chambers of Commerce, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this platform. When we talk about border tourism, we talk about tourism in border districts of the country. Basically, we have seen 2 major problems in this particular thing. That is, one is connectivity and one is network. This is the last place in a country where last mile connectivity can be a big issue. But if we see from the other perspective, that is, this is the place where if there is a cross-border tourism, a tourist, inbound tourist first is the place where the foreign tourist first steps his foot in the country. So if it is the last mile from our country, it is the first place where the foreign tourist steps his foot in the country. So we should, when we talk about border district, that particular border district should be welcoming the foreign tourist who puts his first step in the country, this particular country. We should be equipped enough so that that particular border district should not become a transit point. that we have seen in many places, that whenever a tourist comes, his destination is somewhere else, and he passes through many districts, including that particular border district. So our aim should be that particular border district, though there will be domestic tourism in that particular border district, if there is cross-border tourism happening through that particular district, that district should not become a transit point, but it should be a destination in itself. That is number one. Number two, when we talk about network issues in these border districts, nowadays, one of the most promising promotion tools is vlogging. And since the place, the localites, or with the local stakeholder, without the local stake, since we cannot do tourism in a particular place, so those people should be able to use this powerful tool of vlogging to promote their personal places. So networking is a big issue which we need to overcome. Regarding Assam, if we talk about, take the example of Assam as a focus state, we have Buxa being in close proximity in Guwahati, it is well connected, though there are some network issues. But if we talk about other bordering districts like Dhubri and all, where we even have this river route connecting Kolkata through Bangladesh via Indo-Bangla protocol, we have ample scope. We have another, if we talk about Steelwell Road, that is also called Lido Road, we are connected to Myanmar. So those districts can be well developed as a tourist destinations, regardless of being the last mile from the Indian perspective, but from the foreign perspective, it is the first place where a foreign tourist steps in. These are the two things. Rest, the experts have already told about the district Buxa and what tourism avenues it has to offer. So I think that's the 2 points that I just wanted to add.
Thank you, Mr. Devji. Thank you very much for your brief remarks and on giving your perspective from the Tour Operators Association of Assam. And we will certainly be in touch with you and coordinate with you, sir, whenever we have a next hybrid format program over there in your area. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Devjit Kumar, and he is the president of Tour Operator Association of Assam. Now we will go to Mr. Vishwanath Goenka, advisor, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Assam. A very powerful surname, sir, you have, since I have worked with Indian Express earlier, and with the name Goenka, it is always very inspiring in this thing. So I must request you to kindly give your perspective, sir, Goenka Saab, and give your brief remarks. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Dalmia, for giving such a remarks about Mr. Goenka.
No, I'm Srivastava, sir. I am not Dalmia, sir.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Srivastava. First of all, border tourism. Bhutan is so near to Guwahati, you can say it's almost 100 kilometers from Guwahati, that eastern Bhutan and Assam can have a very good link. In fact, about 7-8 years back, we have received a delegation from Bhutan that this area should be developed for tourism and for trade also, because most of the trade between Bhutan and India is being held from the Siliguri, that Jaigaon border. So they wanted to develop it, but because of some issues, it could not be done so. But there is vast potential for developing this road, and definitely tourism will take a good boost if this route is developed, because Bhutan and Assam that area is very beautiful. And I have heard our earlier speakers, DC sir and other tourism officers, and Government of India is also giving a big thrust on developing tourism. But as far as hotels are concerned, the hoteliers are concerned, in last decade, you can say, hotel industry has come in a big way in entire Northeast. All these inaccessible area where there was problems for accommodation, food, it is being taken care now. So many hotels are coming everywhere, you can say, in Northeast India. And if these infrastructure is developed in these areas, there is no reason why hotels will not come in these areas. There are a lot of investors and entrepreneurs also who are ready to develop all this their properties and take to other areas, because you see there is a big flow of tourists. We have seen after the COVID this thing, again the third wave has come, but before that Assam and Northeast area was having a big tourist traffic. Almost all the hotels in Guwahati were doing good business for last 1 month. All of a sudden it has come down, and the prospect of now development in Northeast region is very high. And people say Bhutan with Paro and Phunsaling and all those areas, but if Samrup, Jongkhar and this area is also taken into consideration, there is big, the tourist trade may increase in a big way, and hotels will also come. Just like our DC sir were telling that there are several properties have come up in Manas. So I hope the time has come when border tourism will go take a big boost. Thank you.
Thank you, Goenka Saab. Thank you very much for your brief remarks. And as you said, that a lot of potential are there, and we really need to capitalize on this, and at the same time ensure that, as Ms. Brar said, and other speakers, that how sustainable tourism can really take shape, and we basically become again engine of growth as far as tourism is concerned, and become very robust in this country, since this is the sector which generates more and more employment. So ladies and gentlemen, you all are giving comment over here in the chat box, and I am trying and reading most of it over there, but at the same time I must share it with you. This is a webinar series which is going till February, and post that, as asked to us, that we will be having in a hybrid format. So now the time has come when I invite our very intelligent co-chair, Mr. Rajan Sehgal, an experienced co-chair also, I should say, who started his journey with Mr. Pawan Sagar Jain almost 30 years back, and an encyclopedia as far as tourism and hospitality sector is concerned. So he is giving the formal vote of thanks and concluding remarks for this session. Over to you, Mr. Rajan Sehgal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yogesh Srivastavaji and PHDCCI for doing this continuing program on border tourism. And today, I think it was very interesting webinar. It's vote of thanks. People say it's a last chance a person gets, but I think I am the most luckiest person, because I have to listen to all the speakers, and it increased my knowledge. Tomorrow I am giving a very big lecture to the MIT students, pre-COVID tourism. So I think this was a great learning point today for me to share with the students tomorrow. And as we know that Assam is a gateway and entry point to Northeast iconic Seven Sisters, and it plays a very, very important role for entire Northeast. A holiday visit to Assam gives you a mix of history, culture, nature, wildlife, tea garden experience, and so many other varieties, which you won't get in any other part of India. And as we know, central and state governments are working very closely on various projects in Assam and other parts of Northeast, especially the infrastructure, the hotel stay, and the connectivity, I think, which three are very, very important to promote a tourism destination also. And I would personally like to thank Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Without their support and guidance, this webinar series was not possible. And before I give my heartfelt gratitude to all eminent speakers and dignitaries for gracing the border tourism webinar series on Assam with their humble presence, I think the suggestions and informations given by all of them will take a note of this in our report, which we make, and to promote these kind of destinations in the future. And as rightly said in last few webinars also, this is the time that we should come and visit, do the physical events, like which PhD is very, very popular for doing the physical events during the crisis also. And we always believe in continuity. So I would like to thank Shrimati Rupinder Barar, IRS, Additional Director General, Ministry of Tourism, for always giving us lots of guidance and support. Mr. Ayush Garg, Deputy Commissioner, Buxa District, Government of Assam. Ayush ji, I'm very glad that you have also spent some time with the ITC in the hospitality. I also spent 11 years with ITC in the travel and hospitality department. Ms. Moitri Das, Deputy Director, Tourism, Government of Assam, a beautiful presentation by you. It was a great learning. Mr. Saurabh Rishi sir, your support, Joint Advisor, Nitya Yog is always there to make this webinar series a great success. Then we are very grateful to Mr. Suresh Kumar, Commandant Guwahati Frontier Border Security Force. I think because of brave soldiers like you, we can promote border tourism and we can invite domestic and international tourists to these areas because you are protecting us. We salute you once again. Mr. Debajit Bora, the President Tour Operators Association of Assam, a very insight information. Mr. Vishwanath Goenka, Advisor, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Assam. I totally agree with you. As I was also promoting these states, the hotels were very, very full during this 6 months when the domestic tourism was at boom. Indians were, going to Northeast, especially to Assam. Our dynamic chairman tourism, Mr. Pawan S. Jain, it's always great to see you and to hear from you. Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, our Secretary General, PHDCCI, Mr. Yogesh Srivastava, Assistant Secretary General, PHDCCI, for conducting this webinar so well, and Sulagna and Sanchit from the Tourism Committee for your great hard work. And as we said, we'll meet you again on 11th of February at 3 p.m. With another series on border tourism on the state Uttar Pradesh. So till then, please take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sehgal. Thank you very much for your wonderful concluding remarks. And as said by Mr. Kaushik Banerjee also in the chat box that he has 800 members. So we will be in touch with you, Mr. Kaushik Banerjee. You have already given your mobile number. I have already sent my email ID over there. And Mr. Sopti, now since you are pretty, take charge and see how best we can take the next program in a hybrid format, as said by our chairman as well as by Mr. Rajan Sehgal, our co-chair. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all your time and your knowledge, efforts. We will certainly be in touch with DC sir, Ayush Garg, with the commandants of and each and every concerned stakeholders, so that we come to Assam in a hybrid format, as Mr. Sehgal has said, in a physical format, and we will ensure that each and every concerned stakeholders are going to be there in this endeavor of PHDCCI. And I can say on behalf of my secretariat, Sulagna, as well as Sanchit and Sanjeev, they have put a lot of hard work, and I'm sure Sulagna will certainly share the important points with each one of us there, and then also the thank you note to each and every speaker. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you once again for all your time over here. Wish you all the very best. Have a great day, whatever balance it is left out. Namaskar.